Hi, my name is Miss Sydney and I'm Ollie's teacher. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about helping with Ollie's practicing for her new job. So we're really excited for her and working at Rack Room Shoes. But before she can start working, we got to practice all the skills that she's going to need in order to be successful. So one part of her job is going to be putting away shoes that are left around the store when people try them on and then they just leave them out. So she will be in charge of putting them back into the box. So we are going to be teaching her how to put shoes in a shoe box. And so I have included her instructional IEP objective below, but that is her exact goal of how progress is going to be made towards meeting this goal of being able to put shoes in the shoe box. And it will drive our collection of data for this skill. And so there's 4 parts to an instructional objective, which are the student, which is obviously Ollie, and then the condition, which is the circumstances that she needs to be in order to complete this behavior, and then also the behavior, which is what she has to do, and then the criterion, which is the measurable goal that we've created to measure her success in this skill. And so we'll be using the instructional method called most to least. And so most to least is a prompting hierarchy where the learner is first provided with the most intrusive level of assistance, and then assistance is faded over time once Ollie responds to less intrusive prompts. So we will keep doing this, giving her the prompts until independence is reached, when she can put the shoes in the shoebox all on her own. And so we'll move from the most intrusive to the least intrusive prompting, which in this case will be full physical, then to verbal prompting, then to gestural prompting, and then to independent. And so when we talk about physical prompting, that's like hand over hand, helping her open the box, put the shoes, when we actually like doing it for her and teaching her which way she needs to move and what motor skills she'll be using for that. And then verbal will be just telling her the steps. So we won't have our hands being used. We will just be telling her each of the steps on the task analysis, which we'll get to in a little bit. And then gestural means using like your finger and gesturing which thing is next for her to do. And then independent obviously means letting her do it on her own. And so she will be moving from one prompt level to the next on a regular schedule, which I have laid out for y'all, so don't need to worry on figuring that part out. And so we'll actually be using a probe trial before we actually go into instruction and teaching her each of these steps, which I'll explain what a probe trial is later on. And so this task is called a chain task, which means that there's a sequence of measurable and observable behaviors that are linked together to make a complex behavior. And so in simpler terms, that means that there's steps laid out on a list that you will basically follow step by step exactly in order to teach this skill. And so it's basically like a cheat sheet of exactly each thing you need to say, and you don't have to stray from that in any way. It'll be your best friend. And I've already written that out for you, and it's included on the instructional program, which is the paper list of kind of all the information that you'll need. And then also I will show it in the video demonstration later. But basically, because it's a chained task, that means that there's a bunch of pieces that make it up. It's not just one thing for her to do. There's all kinds of parts that go into putting shoes in a shoebox. We've set up a list so that we can always be consistent in the words that we use and the steps that we encourage her to take in order to finish this task. So as for an instructional schedule, which is basically the days and times and places for this task, paras, when we're at school, we'll be working on this anytime that we have between 8 and 11 in the morning, and then from 1 to 3:30 Monday through Friday, whatever time that we can have. And then specifically on Tuesdays, we'll be going to the store to practice there. So from 9 to 10, we'll be getting her in that environment whenever she's working on it, which will be really important. And parents, you can work on this skill at home at whatever time works for you. So our goal is for Ollie to be able to generalize this skill, which means that she can do it in circumstances that are not all the same. So in this context, it means that we'll practice with different types of shoes, different types of shoe boxes, and practicing at different times of the day. We can also have some days where she does this task for a long time, meaning that she puts a lot of shoes in shoe boxes, while other days she might only have to do 1 or 2 at a time, and then we can be done for a little bit. And that'll be helpful because the store will be unpredictable in how many she'll have to be doing at one time. And since the store is close to the school, we'll be able to go every Tuesday to practice, and that'll help with generalization so that she doesn't get used to just practicing this skill in the classroom or in the hallway, or even if she can do it anywhere in the school, the ultimate goal is for her to be able to do it in rack room, and so that will be really important to generalization. So the materials required for this will be a pair of shoes, a shoebox that the shoes are able to actually fit in, and a data sheet. For shoes in the shoebox, we would love to be switching those as much as possible so that she can try all different boxes, but as long as you have a pair of shoes and a shoebox, that is the main thing that you need, and then a data sheet, which we'll discuss later on more, but we'll have to be taking data so that we can keep up and see how she's progressing through this. So whenever you're actually starting doing the instructional trials and probe trials and all different things, you're gonna first start with an attentional cue, which is basically how she knows that she's getting to work. We're getting her attention. And so in this context, it's gonna be, Ollie, it's time to practice for work. And so that will have her perk up and she'll be able to know that she's going to start working. And then following the attentional cue, we'll say, put the shoes in the shoebox, and that is called a task direction. So, I mean, it says it kind of in the title, but it gives her directions on what task she's going to be starting on. We got her attention, and then we need to tell her what to do. And so we'll be telling her that every single time we start this task, as well as the attentional cue. But keeping that consistent is really important. And so every time after each step, we'll be using a CRF one-to-one schedule. And so in simpler terms, that basically, CRF stands for continuous reinforcement schedule. And so basically that's giving her reinforcement after every occurrence of the target behavior. And so we know that Ollie loves verbal praise. So after each step, we can give her verbal praise when she does a great job. Let her know so that she can continue to do the same, because we want her to know whenever she's doing the right thing, so then she knows what to continue doing and what to not continue doing. So this next video is going to be me showing a probe trial, and so I'll be doing this with one of my peers, Grady, and for you guys to see kind of how, so I'll be the teacher and then Grady will be playing the position of Ollie. So a probe trial is basically for us to see where Ollie is in her progress, because whenever you're doing most to least, we're not allowing her to do it independently until she gets to that point. And so we want to always be tracking how she's doing on her own, and then move back into instructional trials. Instructional trials meaning whenever we're actually moving from the most intrusive prompt to least intrusive prompt. Before we do that, we want to kind of see how she's doing on her own first. So that's what a probe trial does. And so we'll be using a single opportunity probe, meaning that as soon as she does not know one of the steps, we'll just stop it right there and then move into instructional trials. And so that's in comparison to multiple opportunity probe, which is whenever if she is unable to complete a step, we would finish that step and then allow her to go into the next one. But just for time's sake, since we want to be probing every day, just to move it quickly, we'll be just doing single opportunity probing. And so whenever we do this, we'll first do a general attentional cue, which is always, Ollie, it's time to practice for work, then move into the task direction of put the shoes in the shoebox, and then allow her to perform the skill independently until she is unable to. And then we'll just stop it right there, no big deal, and move into instructional trials. So this is the data sheet that you'll use for the probe trials. And so you'll put a plus for what the successful steps and then a minus for unsuccessful steps. And since this is single opportunity, after you get 1 minus, the rest of the chain task will get minuses. And then you'll calculate the accuracy of how many correctly and independently done pieces of the chain task are completed, and you put that at the bottom. All right, it's time to practice for work. Put the shoes in the shoebox. gonna keep practicing. So for this next video, we will be demonstrating a full physical prompting. So that will be in the most to least instructional program. This will be most. So that will be working through hand over hand prompting. So that basically means whenever she's opening the box, you will have your hands on her hand, helping her open that box so that she can understand what she's doing and have the most help that she will get. And so this will allow her to eventually be able to do it with just verbal prompting, where she can remember how she moved her hands to do the things, but still has help of each of the steps in the task analysis. And then we'll move further and further so that she can do it independently. And table will record the most intrusive prompt needed for each step in the data table, and then we'll keep working to get to our goal of criterion as we keep going through. This is the data sheet that you'll use to fill out for most to least. So you'll label using the key what type of prompting you use for each of the steps, and then you'll calculate how much of it was done independently after each chain task. So these are the steps of the operationalization for this task that you can look through, and I'll be going through one trial of this in the following clip. All right, Grady, it's time to practice for work. Put the shoes in the shoebox. Awesome job. Great job. Awesome. Awesome. Great job, Grady. So for this next video, I'm going to be showing you verbal prompting. And so this one, we will be hands off in it, but still be saying each of the steps in the task analysis. So this is called verbal prompting. And in verbal prompting, you'll just say each of the steps in the list in the task analysis that we've demonstrated. And this will allow her to be working on doing the task without someone hand over hand doing it for her or doing it with her. But still allowing her to get the help that she needs in order to be successful. And so be watching in the way that I am able to say what she needs to do and be patient whenever I'm walking through each of the steps, but still allowing her to do it at her pace and working independently. And then we'll be recording in the data table again and be watching to see if we're ready to move on to the next less intrusive prompt. All right, Grady, it's time to practice for work. Put the shoes in the shoebox. All right, first you're going to open the lid of the shoebox. Great job. Now grab the left shoe and make the inside sole face to the right. Great job. All right, put the shoe in the shoebox with the heel facing closest to you and the sole facing the side of the box. Awesome job. All right, grab the right shoe and make the inside sole face to the left. Great job. And now put the shoe in the shoebox with the toe facing closest to you and the sole on the outside. Great job. Now close the box. Awesome job. Great job, Grady. So for this next level of prompting, we're going to be doing gestural prompting, which means that we'll be pointing at whatever she's supposed to do next, or maybe showing her different gestures with our hands that will be helpful. Maybe for turning the shoe, we can be kind of demonstrating that with our hands, different things like that. Be watching the way that I use my finger to point at different things. That'll allow her to get the direction that she needs without having to touch her or say anything that's needed. And this is a little bit less intrusive than using verbal prompting, because she'll have to kind of think of the steps herself based on what I point at, rather than just getting exactly what the task analysis says. All right, Grady, it's time to practice for work. Put the shoes in the shoebox. Awesome job. Awesome job. Awesome. Great job. Awesome job, Grady. So now we're going to be testing independence. So this will be allowing her to do it totally on her own. But if she is struggling with one of the steps, we can use error correction, which is wherever we'll just move back to the next most intrusive prompt. So if she's going from independent, we'll try gestural, and then if that is not as much as she needs, we'll move to verbal and then to physical prompting. So you can see that in this video. There'll be a few times where Ollie/Grady needs a little bit of extra help, and so we'll move back and be able to error correct, and then get her on her way to try the next step on her own. All right, Grady, it's time to practice for work. Put the shoes in the shoebox. Awesome job. Great job. Grab the right shoe. Great job. Awesome. Awesome job, Grady. In this last video, Ollie will, this is demonstrating a time where Ollie could just do it all on her own, which is wherever we'll just be giving her reinforcement and giving her the task direction and intentional cue, and then letting her try it all on her own. All right, Grady, it's time to practice for work. Put the shoes in the shoebox. Awesome. Great job. Awesome job. Awesome job, Grady. All right, so that was graduated guidance. Good luck. I hope that was really helpful, and make sure that you're looking at the task analysis. I think that will be your best friend on this. With this and the instructional program, you should be good to go.